to part 2 of Motorhome Madness. Motorhomes assemble! So you're one of the other guys and you plucked a 440 from some unsuspecting motorhome. Lucky for us, ours was on loan from our good buddy David Freiberger. Now back in part 1, if you haven't seen that video, check it out. It's right here. Back in part 1, we got our motor up on the dyno, got it running, and even made a few pulls. Unfortunately, because it's a motorhome 440, it didn't make quite as much power as we wanted. So it's time for some upgrades. First on the list, a cam swap. Right after that, nitrous. Let's get going.
In part 1, we upgraded the valve springs, then installed long tube headers and electric water pump. We hooked up the factory electronic ignition to our MSD, then installed a Holley carburetor on top of our Edelbrock intake using an adapter. Then it was ready for dyno testing.
In part 1 of the video, it looks like I forgot to put the power graph in, and that's like my most favorite thing. So, and I was also wrong about the peak power numbers. I think Brule tuned this thing up a little bit more. So it made 337.5 horsepower and 443.8 foot-pounds of torque. Now let's find out what we can do after a cam swap. After making baseline runs on our 440 Mopar, we tore into it for a cam swap.
Now it's time for one of those high-speed install sequences. First we remove the valve covers, followed by the rockers and push rods. Then it was over to the other side. Troy set to work on removing the balancer. Check out the specs of our Comp Extreme Energy cam. Then it was time to remove and prep for assembly. For installation, we installed moly-based assembly lube on all the cam lobes. Then followed the same procedure on all the bottoms of the lifters. After removing the header, I scraped off the header gasket, which was already leaking. Off came that factory balancer. To allow access to the front cover. After installing a new header gasket, we installed the header. Steve tightened everything up. Troy managed to pry the front cover off. So this is definitely not stock. Hey, stop standing around. Why don't you get to work? Pull that intake off. followed by the valley gasket, then the lifters. But there's always one stubborn one. Then out came the cam, and in with the new one. Now it's time to put everything back together. I want to thank Steve and Troy from Westech, and they crushed it on this cam swap. Time to reinstall the valley cover and the intake manifold, followed by the rockers and push rods. With the valve covers installed, then it's time for the front cover. Only a few odds and ends left, and it's ready to run. Troy reinstalled the balancer, followed by the water pump. While Troy hooked up the water, I installed the spark plugs, then the plug wires. Just make sure they don't touch the headers. A quick cleanup of the dyno cell. She's getting ready to run.
Alright guys, here it is, all ready to go. Just finished the cam swap. Break it in, see how much power it's got. A little break in, you need to move the hydraulic side down the cam. Doing a little sweep there, changing the load, changing the RPM. Break it in so the cam's all happy. After installation of our Comp Extreme Energy cam, the power curve naturally changed. It picked up power at the top. It only picked up about 10 peak horsepower, but as we rev higher and higher in the RPM range, the gains get bigger. We're already out past 20 horsepower at 5,500. And we did trade a little bit of low speed power down here compared to that RV cam, which we think was probably like a 204, 202, something like that at 50. Now it's time for some nitrous. Okay guys, we got the big block 440 Mopar up on the dyno. It's just ran it naturally aspirated, basically stock, although it didn't have a stock cam in it. We also ran it with a slightly larger cam from the RV cam that we found out that was in there already. But now it's time to make some real power. We're gonna install this Sniper Nitrous. Let's go.
A simple nitrous plate is an easy install. All you have to do is remove the carburetor. Then install the plate. It looks like this.
It'll only matter when
You need to get a room.
it'll only matter when it has a vacuum.
Then we reinstall the Holley carburetor. We hooked up an activation switch, fuel line, and nitrous line for the nitrous system. supposed to take this thing down, or you're still gonna do stuff? Panorama.
With the nitrous installed on our 440 Mopar, what do you say? Let's make some noise. Now these are the gains we like to see. The nitrous kit obviously works well. Nitrous always is awesome. And that was a little sniper plate kit, and it works really well. Big gains, peak power is up to 465. Peak torque was up to 568 foot-pounds. And this was with a 55 jet in the kit. Worked out really well. In my opinion, if I was going to run nitrous on this thing, I don't think I'd even do the cam swap. I think I would probably just add a little bit more jet, run the cam that was in there if you got a little RV cam or something. You know, obviously this cam that we ran, the 224 cam, would be worth more power compared to a factory cam. But even a mild RV cam or this cam with nitrous, nothing but good. Now this thing really needs some boost. So what did you guys think about the results of our motorhome madness test? For me, I was both happy and sad. Now, I was a little disappointed in the results of the cam swap. I wanted to see more than 10 horsepower peak to peak, because when we run that kind of cam in a small block Ford or a small block Chevy, we usually get bigger gains. Now, in this motor's defense, it already had a fairly decent cam. I mean, it had an RV cam, which is perfect because it was in an RV. The nitrous is another story. Nitrous is awesome, and even more nitrous is awesomer. And that's exactly what happened when we applied nitrous, like this plate kit, on our 440. It made more power, like it always does. But even more importantly, it showed us what the potential is lurking inside this motor. And it gave us a good idea what to expect when we run boost, which is coming up in part 3. Using these stock exhaust manifolds, I'm gonna build a DIY turbo kit. You know, like you should. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to check out part 3. It's coming up. Thanks for supporting the channel. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, ring the bell. I'll keep testing.